Hey guys, what's going on? Before I start the video, I wanted to let you know that I'm doing a $15 Amazon gift card giveaway, and all you have to do is just subscribe and like the video, and once we reach to 100 subscribers, I will do the giveaway. Alright, so now let's get started. When you think about European football national powerhouses, Greece certainly isn't a country your average football follower thinks about. But Greece, who had never so much as won a match at a tournament finals before, had just won Euro 2004. In international football, these shocks rarely come much bigger. For a team of such relatively limited means to win through to claim such a renowned trophy, beating the holders and then the host once again for good measure, was an achievement like no other. And yet the Greek side of 2004 is held up as the antithesis of all that is good about football. One match report from the final in the Telegraph even began with the lament, "A tear flowed down the face of the beautiful game." A defensive and negative team had stunk out the tournament and stifled Europe's finest into submission. It was a triumph of the doer over the delightful, a victory for anti-football, or so the story went. But it was a triumph of tactical tinkering, a victory for a team tweaked to nullify each differing opponent, and a team drilled to make the most of their limited opportunities which came their way. For a side that had achieved next to nothing internationally, it was a remarkable success. Prior to 2004, Greece had only played 6 games in championship finals and had yet to win a single match, losing 5 and drawing 1 at Euro 1980 and the 1994 World Cup. They qualified for 2004 by topping the group and consigning Spain to the playoffs, but if that was an indicator of what was to come, it was widely ignored. Even in Greece, hopes were just to improve their desired tournament record just a bit more. However, under the tutelage of Rahal, Greece had been an upward trajectory with philosophy shaped by his long and distinguished career coaching in the Bundesliga, most notably with Werder Bremen. Rahal, even his system of controlled offense with at least 2 strong headers of the ball in defense, another powerful header in attack, and seeking to attack on the counter through pressure on the wings. He was a proponent of the virtues of robustness, height, and effective set pieces rather than silky footballing abilities. He brought his style to Greece, and in doing so he was able to create a team that was greater than the sum of its parts. Given a squad containing several solid, reliable defenders and midfielders, but limited attacking flair, this wasn't just a philosophical approach, it was a pragmatic one. Playing an open style of football would have been a suicidal mission. Regal's Greece would also prove proficient at adapting their shape to nullify the strengths of their opponents, something that would become increasingly apparent as Greece progressed through the knockout round. He believed as the underdogs, Greece's defensive shape should be dictated by one of the opposition's attacks. The only real constant was the making sure they always had a spare man at the back to complement the man markers. Greece's tournament began the same way it would end, with a victory over the host Portugal. They provided the first shock in front of a fervent and expectant home crowd by winning 2-1. A further point came in grabbing a draw with Spain before the defeat to Russia left Greece clinging on to the second qualifying place. Once in the knockout rounds, though, the fairy tale really began to take shape. In overcoming France and the Czech Republic in the quarters and semis respectively, Greece had beaten the holders and then most of swashbuckling attacking team of the tournament so far. Unbelievably, they were into the final where a rejuvenated host nation awaited them. Regal switched to a more traditional 4-man defense to face Portugal's lone forward. Retaining their spare man at the back, Portugal began the final in rapid style, seeking to make amends for their opening day aberration. The attack quartet of Cristiano Ronaldo, Deco, Pauleta, and Luis Figo were a constant threat to the Greek defense, but although Portugal enjoyed the bulk of possession, it wasn't all one-way traffic as Greece looked dangerous on the break too, committing sufficient men forward when the opportunity arose. Just as in the previous 2 knockout matches, Greece's most magnificent moment came from another cross from the right. Angelos Bassinas swung in a corner which eluded the failing Ricardo in goal, leaving Angelos Chartistas to head it into the unguarded net, sending the noisy Greek corner of Lisbon Estadio da Luz into a chaotic carnival. This goal was no fluke. It was a near carbon copy of the winning goals from the quarterfinals against France and the semifinals against the Czechs. It was a basic but effective. Portugal's laid siege to the Greeks' goal after that, with Ronaldo and Figo missing the clearest chances, while Trainos Delas and Nicopolitis repelled everything else. Incredibly, the 100-1 outsiders as the tournament began held on to become the most improbable of European champions. Ronaldo's tears after the final whistle were echoed by his nation. Never before has a team so unfancied gone on to win a major tournament, as reported in the Telegraph. It was a triumph of tactics over instinct, of nullifying the opposition threats while maximizing the strengths of an inferior squad. Underdogs aren't supposed to go all the way and win international tournaments. They can provide the odds to shock along the way, but come the business end of the competition, they are supposed to gracefully bow out, allowing a more traditional or aesthetically pleasing nation to win. But Greece had stuck rigidly to what they knew best and had overcome the finest in Europe had to offer, and yet they were unloved for it by many. While it is undeniable that their style was not overly pleasing on the eye, the prevailing negativity towards the Greeks only became the norm once they actually began to look as though they could win the tournament. Yet, if winning defensively was so easy, more unfancied teams would surely upset the odds, as Greece had done. In truth, it was far from easy. On closer inspection, it could have been viewed, as suggested by Michael Cox of Zonal Marking, as the tactical achievement of the decade. As Greece effortlessly switched formations and, when required, and continually possessed sufficient of the threat going forward to capitalize on their defensive solidity, Cox continued, to beat the holders, the best team and the host in the successive rounds by the same scoreline, by scoring the same way, doesn't happen by accident. It happens through immense tactical wisdom and careful deployment of tactics to suit each game. Greece in 2004 were superb, but adapting their shape to the best counter of their opponents, and were steadfast in implementing the plans laid down by their coach in securing the unlikeliest of tournament victories.